So the first step in actually recovering our vision is to actually take responsibility. I am responsible for my current, like the world I live in, I'm responsible for. We're not here by chance. We are here to learn something. So this is a great environment. Actually, this day and age, however miserable it is very powerful because you're living in times when you can't ignore the uselessness of material life. It's just like the challenges of material so in your face. So you have a very good opportunity because you can see clearly that, yeah, this is a place of suffering. And like with my friends and our bunk beds and this and that, you're just like, it's an excessively sentimental emotion. And that actually brings me right into what I wanted to talk about. There is ways in which we look at this world. Vision is very important. How we see things. There is 4 levels of seeing things. There's 4 levels of vision. The Bhagavad Gita will see, the Bhagavad Gita is a very deep book. Remember I was telling you last week, Royal, that if you read it with all seriousness, with the purports and commentaries, you will actually find a lot of depth in it. So it talks about 4 kinds of visions. And throughout the book, you will see Krishna is talking on those different levels. He's showing you the reality on all different levels of vision. We may not pick it initially just by reading it, but when you read it again and again and again, you realize, oh, okay. And my teacher, he actually said this to me, especially when you're angry or upset about something, or you're stuck on a point, you're having an argument, you're stuck on a point, right? So an intelligent person knows how to see a thing in 10 different ways, in multiple different ways. You can look at it from this angle, that angle, like all different angles. But we find it hard, right? It's like, no, this is right and this is wrong. And this is why the whole world is polarized today. This disagreement on everything. You can start writing down the amount of like the presidents disagree, the citizens disagree, the governments, the cops disagree with the people disagree with the military disagrees with the commerce disagrees with everybody disagrees, and even within their teams people don't agree. It's very hard. You manage a band, you must see that, right? Getting people to agree. Artists they disagree. You think like you're artists, you're all open and flowing. Very hard to get artists to agree, isn't it? It's like they have an artistic vision and that's it. It's just that. Because it's in their eyes, they can see it all, right? So in all fields of life, you can see there is disagreement. Because we're stuck in our vision. Bhagavad Gita will show us 4 levels of vision. There is that vision that is on the level of senses. The senses. My eyes see you are sitting on the chair. My eyes see you are sitting on the chair. My eyes see. This is called sense perception. And Krishna explains about this in the initial, the second lesson of the Bhagavad Gita is Matrisparshasta Kanteya Shitoshni Sukha Dukkada. He's saying like that happiness that is coming from Matrisparsha, this contact between matter and senses and sense object. That's a kind of happiness, he said. And he says such kind of happiness is just like changing of the summer and winter seasons. They come and go. So Matrisparsha, this is one kind of happiness. This is one kind of vision. Sense gratification. That is basically most of the world we see, right? That's the material world, the one that we see through our eyes. And this world is very attractive, active, and addictive. In all kind of ways, right? You just walk down the street, there's this movie playing, try and watch a YouTube video or something for like 5 minutes without an ad flashing in your face or something, right? It drives you crazy. It just drives you. You don't want to see it, it's just there. It's almost like they know what you're thinking and they'll put an ad about it. It's just so stupid. It's like, stop tracking me and playing things to me the whole time, right? So it's very active. Things are splashing on you all the time. And as the age of Kali Yuga, as it becomes more and more powerful, this immersion, this soaking in sense triggers is full on. Inundation is full on. Like, how old are you when you have a phone that you can play with, like 2 or 3 years old? You can pretty much see whatever you want, whatever. You have exposure to everything. By the time you're 5, 6, 7 years old, is there anything in this world that you don't know about? Right? By the time you're 10, you've been exposed to everything. Correct? Most probably. I mean, that innocent childhood is completely lost. I mean, in my time, I've been growing up, maybe you can relate a little bit, like when growing up, it's like, you didn't know about phone, TV, you just went out and played. Like Sunday morning, you just go to the tree outside. I had a coconut tree outside my house, and I could spend hours under the coconut tree. Just digging out dirt, like making different things out of it. Just, like it's a different kind of a life. But now there's just inundation. You watch news once a week. It's every minute. Like, if you had a birthday, someone would send you a letter. You would get a card or something like that, or maybe a telegram or something like that, right? So I don't know if you guys even know what a telegram is. It's like a one-line message that comes through post. You know what a telegram is? Oh, wow. Where do you know that from?
Louisiana.
Really? People use that?
Like, it's like, there it's like everything is like 40 to 60 years
Really?
behind. Yeah.
I gotta go visit. But you see this point, like the inundation, the activeness of this world is right now. It's active, it's attractive, it looks lucrative. I could have this, I could have this, I could have that. You look at a movie, I could be this, I could be this. Attractive. It's fully absorbing, right? And it's addictive. You can't stop. That's why people can't sleep in the night. People can't maintain their health. You just can't stop. Have you ever found yourself in a position you can't stop, can't put your phone down, can't do this, right? It's just really hard. So this material world is attractive, addictive, and active. And it pulls us in. And before we know, life is over. And before we know, all of our hard work money is going to invest in putting up keeping up the image that we have shown to the world. And the image is falling apart every day. It's like falling apart. It's so depressing, actually. Your body is actually falling apart. And if that's all you know, it's so depressing. If you don't know anything higher. Now, I can read these books and everything, but at some point in time, I have to become serious about my spiritual life. I have to become serious about it. If I read, but then after I'm done giving the class and I'm just kind of like doing my usual rubbish, then it's not going to go in. But at some point, I have to kind of really contemplate this point that the body is temporary. My time is limited. Like one of my teachers was wishing her birthday, and she said, yes, 1 year closer to Krishna. I was like, what? And she with a big smile, I was like, good Lord. A very different perspective, 1 year closer to Krishna. So unless we change our vision, our lifestyle, and unless we have an eternal perspective, we're trying to cling on to something that's very shaky. And it's very fragile, like it's not there. Like it's like kind of being on a bonfire, there's fire going, there's smoke, and you're trying to grab the smoke in your hand. Or you see the little kids run after bubbles when they blow bubbles with soap, right? They run after it, and the bubble doesn't last. We're the same, we're running after bubbles, and it doesn't last. And so we get this vision of senses is very shaky. Generally, people need philosophy to bridge the gap between what you can see through your eyes and what you cannot see. That's when people turn to philosophy. How to make money? 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4. But when you lose everything, suddenly big loss, someone you love gone away, you don't know what to do. That's when you need philosophy. Otherwise, people are like, why do you study philosophy? Philosophy you need to change your vision. It's a higher philosophy. Now there is one, so we talked about the vision, which is just material, like eye is just looking at that. But there is things that you don't look at. Like you might be looking at her and you'll be like, I know you from 10 years ago and you have all this emotion. And I might be looking at you and I'm like, I know what you did. And there's all that emotion. But you can't see those things. You can only see me talk to him. You can't see the internal. So that's the sentimental vision. So there's another vision that is through our sentiments or through our mind, our emotions. Oh, this is Andrea. Last birthday, she did so much for me and she made me feel so special. I feel so much affection for Andrea. This is all going on in my heart, but nobody can see it. right? So this is a sentimental vision from us. Or you're just looking, oh, look at them, they look like such good friends, and they're looking at, it's all sentimental vision. Or she looked at me bad, or he looked at me bad, he did that. It's all sentimental vision. So there is a vision that's on the level of sentiments. Have you ever found yourself trapped in it? That's nostalgia. Arjuna, in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, if you actually read it, it's very emotional. He's doing a whole life, like he's going to go through all kind of visions. First he's going to say all these soldiers are here, my uncles, aunts, everyone. He's like going to say all of that, right? He's going to line up the external vision, the Bhagavad Gita. Then he's going to say, what happiness will I get if something happens to him? What happiness through this? What will happen? It's sentimental.
I never thought of what he was experiencing as like nostalgia. Like,
no, I'm not saying he's experiencing nostalgia. I'm showing the different visions. Yeah. I'm not saying he's experiencing. It's a different visions he's kind of expressing, right?
Yeah.
And then Krishna is going to start helping him see other kinds of vision, right? So the body, there is a physical, there's a sensual, there's a sentimental, and then there is a scriptural vision. Scripture, seeing things through the eyes of Shastra. So Bhagavad Gita. Would somebody mind sharing a Bhagavad Gita with everybody? Yeah. At the very beginning of it. Oops.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just wondering, how did it pop in the backward direction? So the very first verse, the introduction, right? The very first verse. This is kind of related to what you were asking on WhatsApp about, hearing through ears. So the very first verse, it's Sanskrit on the very top of the introduction, page 1. Everyone has it, page 1?
Page 1.
Yeah. It's Sanskrit. You may not be able to read it, but if you look at the words slowly enough, I'll read them. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. And the translation is, I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to him. So this is interesting. Why is it saying that we're born in the darkness of ignorance? And just think about it, the influence of darkness. If there was no sun, would your eyes have any value? Would it matter whether you had eyes or not? The eyes have value because the sun is there. Without sun, the eyes have no value. So without the light of knowledge, you can't see. Your scriptural knowledge, you can't see properly. That's why I say torchlight of knowledge. Because as I was sharing with some of you guys over WhatsApp, that I once met an MBA player, giving out books like these, just like I met you. And I remember I was still his waist. And I was wondering, was this really nice person? And he gave me like a couple of $100 for the Bhagavad Gita. I was like, who are you? Just here to play a game. I was like, how can you have so much money just playing a game? I had no clue. And then, later I found out, like he said he's here to play a basketball match, and then he said, and like towards the end he even said NBA, but again, even that didn't connect in my head. I was like, totally in ignorance. So when I came home, I told my husband, this is happening. He's like, you met an NBA? Who did you meet? And he showed me pictures, and I was like, yeah, open. You're good. Hey, Jonathan, come in. Hey, Suki, come in. You guys can sit here. You want to sit there? Yeah. You want a cushion? Take a cushion. You can sit it on the floor. It's all good. I can sit here. Thanks, bro. So what was I saying? I was explaining different kinds of vision. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we were at the point that so we're reading the verse, Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So there is this point being made that my spiritual master opened my eyes. I was telling you about me meeting the NBA player and not knowing who he is. But then when my husband explained to me what this whole thing is, I realized what an opportunity I missed. I could have talked to him, he could have helped in some ways, and he was very nice. He wasn't shaken by the fact that I didn't know who he was or, what this game was. He was just kind of like so chill about the whole thing. Just somebody would be offended, right? Like, I'm such a big star, you don't know. That was very nice. I just remember that. So we want somebody to give us the right knowledge so we can see things differently. Because when you're going through life, things can get very tricky and difficult, and they're bound to get tricky and difficult. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Those who have lived long enough, they know that. It's not a matter of if things will get difficult, it's a matter of when things will get difficult. And when they get difficult, the knowledge of any amount of wealth doesn't help at that time. Because material nature, like you guys were talking about hurricanes, right? The hurricanes don't distinguish between whether you're poor or rich. They just don't. They just come and they destroy everything on their way. So material nature has a way of bringing everybody on the same level playing field of complete desperation, because this world is not a place to enjoy. Actually, you can see this from a simple experiment. Look at your little finger, pinky finger, little finger. Now think about how many ways in which this finger can give you some pleasure. Maybe like clean your ears, eyes, like that, right? That's it, right? Then it's this little. Now think about the number of ways in which this little finger can give you pain. Tell me. Smash it. And even had the little finger in the car door.
Yeah.
Yes. You and I.
Brutal.
Oh, so painful, isn't it? What else can this little finger do? How else can it get pain?
If you bite it.
You bite it, yeah. Someone else bites it, right?
Or like if you like, you ever like clipped your nails and you put the little finger too close to the big, and
Everyone's like, don't remind us of it.
it takes forever for it to heal.
What about a paper cut? You're just moving the pages of Bhagavad Gita, the paper cut, right? Paper cut. It's so annoying, isn't it? What else can this little finger have? You get a gangrene.
Oh no!
If you're in a cold place, like very very cold place, you can get chilblains. Like your fingers can like literally blister out of cold. Get that? What else? So many ways in which this little finger can pain you, right? Someone can break it, fracture it, infect it. It can even cause poison to enter your whole body. There's so many ways. You can see from this little example that this little finger, the amount of pleasure it can give you is this much, and the amount of pains it can give you is immense. Look at sexual activity. It can give you pleasure for 5 minutes, 10, 20, 25, 30. But imagine the number of years of suffering it can give you. Every activity you see in this world, every organ you see in your body, the amount of pleasure it can give you is this much. The amount of pain it can give you is that much. What does this tell you? This body is not a tool for, it's not an instrument for pleasure. We want it to be an instrument for pleasure, but it's not. It's a bag of karma waiting to open up at different points in time. Even your face, how much pleasure can it give you? It can give you 50,000 pimples. It can give you like so many things, right? So many ways. It can give you one wrinkle, and that wrinkle will give you so much stress. It can give you just everything. Examine carefully, and through this, then you wonder like, oh, if the number of pains are 550 and the pleasure is 1 or 2, what's the logical deduction of this? Logical deduction is that this is not meant for pleasure. And then so logic tells you how to deduce what is obvious in front of you. But from logic, when you realize something, then it's like, okay, how do I understand this? Why? Like my father, somebody might ask you this question. Oh, why did God create this world for people to suffer so much? Why did God create a world for people to suffer? so and so is dying in this part of the world, so and so was assaulted there, such and such place was like that. Why did God create a world like this? Maybe you've asked yourself that kind. Right? We are quick to blame God for all the problems. Now, you survived in this dangerous world. We will not give credit to the Supreme Lord for that. We just very quick to blame that God created a world for us to suffer in. Did He? He didn't say you should suffer. And I was trying to discuss this. I was like, the Lord creates the universe. Jagat. Jagat is created by the Lord. We create the samsara, the world in our own head, samsara. So samsara is saying like, this is how I will enjoy, this is who I'll relate with, this is my nostalgia trip, this is like in my mind I create this world. Which is the world in which I live. Where I think things are going good or bad or whatever. But that's not the world the Lord created. So we are quick to blame the Supreme for creating a world of suffering. But is it really the world that is at fault? Or is it what we want from this world that is at fault? Like Gandhi made this point that there's enough in this world for everyone's needs, but there's not enough for everyone's greeds. This is a simple point. The trees aren't bad. Us wanting to cut them in, make things out of it, may be bad. So the world is in a bad place where we have desires. I was actually discussing this point, like, what if there was a magic wand and everything became like Satya Yuga? Everything became like pure, uncontaminated, everything. Would you be able to live in it? Absolutely not. Because you want entertainment. You want some freedom, some this, that, and the other. What are you saying? You want it your way. So if the world was full of saintly people, how long would you last? Classes like this all day. Classes that go on 6 hours, 5 hours, how long would you last? Like, I'm out of here, I want to have some me time. I want something for myself, my way. Let me go shopping. Guess what? In that kind of a world, pure world, there's no malls. No credit cards, no. And you don't even have a job to do all day. So what do? Go crazy, right? How do you live?
I think I'd have like a lot of fun. Yeah.
In a pure environment, will we survive? So what that lets you see is that actually we have uncontrolled desires. We're the one with uncontrolled desires, and we want unrealistic things. We suffer because of our desires, not because God created a world for us to suffer in. The purpose of the world is to provide a contact point. Like, university was not created for people to suffer. It was created for education. Now you go to university and get into drugs and become addicted to it. Is the university at fault for forming a university? I mean, yes and no can be debatable in a logical sense. In a logical sense, it's a place of education. You chose to go there and indulge. You chose to go there and get a partner. You chose to go there and get multiple partners. You chose to do these things. But you blame the university. That's not fair. So we choose to exploit the world. We choose to exploit people in the name of expressing our freedom. We can't blame the Lord for creating injustice in the world. What we're saying is things are not going my way. Krishna never made this place for material enjoyment. This place was meant to be a place for education, where you can see like, oh, this is temporary. But instead of seeing this as temporary, you're like, wow, I'm going to keep it forever. And then you're saying God created a place of suffering. No, He didn't. In Satya Yuga, the yuga where there's all saintly people, basically there's no classes in society. It's a classless society and everyone's just meditating. Live 100,000 years, 60, 70, 80,000 years, it's just meditating on the Supreme Lord. Could you do that? 80,000 years of meditation? No way.
I can try.
Do I live the entire 80,000?
Yeah?
Do I live the entire 80,000?
Yeah.
So
Don't stop. Just hold your breath and meditate on the Supreme Lord in your heart. You can't do it. You see what I'm saying? We have desires, so we need an age in which we can live out these kind of desires. We suffer because of our desires, not because of God's plan or arrangement or anything like that. So the first step in actually recovering our vision is to actually take responsibility. I am responsible for my current, like the world I live in, I'm responsible. But not here by chance. We are here to learn something. So this is a great environment. Actually, this day and age, however miserable it is very powerful because you're living in times where you can't ignore the uselessness of material life. It's just like the challenges of it are so in your face. So you have a very good opportunity because you can see clearly that, yeah, this is a place of suffering. 20, 30 years ago, it was slightly difficult for people to see that this is a place of suffering. We can start to see very clearly, very young right now. So then, then what do you need? You need a different, because if you just see the suffering, you'll get depressed. So what do you need? You need spiritual vision. That's why you need spiritual master. Om Ajnanat Mirandhasya. He shows you the vision that yes, this is a place of suffering, but there is a place, there is a way of living in this world without being touched by this world. Like Jesus said, what did he say? Be in this world and not be of this world. How? How do you do that? How do you, like you had asked me this question a few weeks ago that gotta work, gotta do these things, how not to get affected by that, right? So how do we do that? That is called Bhakti Yoga. How to live in this world without being entangled in this world. So you have to be very careful. We have to have a plan for our devotional upliftment. We have to have a plan for a change of vision. Like, if I go to the dentist, my dentist is like, you gotta floss every day, you gotta mouthwash every day, you gotta brush every day, all these things. And she put me on a plan. She said, if you do it every day, come every 3 months, we'll check you, and and your teeth will be in perfect condition after a year. So it's a plan for recovery, right? If I don't do my part, I can't blame the doctor. So same way, spiritual life needs a plan. We get up in the morning, we chant these, we read, we come and we associate. It requires effort from you. Spiritual life is not so damn cheap that you can pay $20, go to a place or studio and have a little bit of a high experience and then go back outside and again indulge in all the crazy things you want to do and expect it to be spiritual. I'm realizing this more and more for myself. I'm not telling anybody else, for myself. Like the little things in life that you take lightly, it costs you a lot. And I can see a difference. Like one moment of slip, it's just like you can see a difference in your consciousness. There's a different energy. Right now I'm sitting with you guys chanting about, talking about Krishna, discussing spiritual life. I feel completely different. And if I'm like pursuing something material, like for, even a few, there's a completely different, like my heart feels completely different. Dead, drained out, like, ugh. It's really, I don't know how to explain it. You know what I'm saying? Like when you just like being on a binge, like doing something, it's like, you just can't feel it. So I don't know how to explain it without the drama. But we need a plan for our spiritual upliftment. We need a program. It's not going to happen just because you paid some bucks to go on a 2-week retreat or a 1-week retreat. No. We need a daily plan, commitment, and a program. Remember I said the material world is attractive, active, and addictive. All three. So if anyone here ever dealt with any addiction? Even a little bit? Anybody?
Chocolate.
Anything. I'm not asking what, but some addiction you've done. It's
Phone.
not easy to phone, yeah. It's not easy to give up, is it? It's not, right? It's just like so addicted, you just can't put it aside. So addictions like this material world is addictive. It feels so real. That relationship will make it all worth it. It just makes it feel so real. So in order to wake up out of it, you need a real program for it. You need constant association. So I couldn't more emphasize the need for reading the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam every day. So there's scriptural vision, and then there's a vision of the soul. That is the highest level of yoga, samadhi. Meditating on the Supreme. You see yourself, sambandha, abhideya, and prayoja. You see who you are. You see what your sambandha, what your relationship is with the Supreme, and you see the prayojan, the goal, to meet the Supreme. You see this. You see all three. You see yourself. You see the Supreme. You see the relationship and the process. So as you really see it, then you act differently. For example, this is just the last point I'll make. For example, when you think your identity, your sambandha, is that you are a boy. Just pick it up like, just taking an example. So you're a boy, right? So your sense of identity is you're a boy. So then what is your abhideya, your goal? Your goal is, I want a girl so we can be a couple. So your goal is to get a girl so you can be a couple. And what is the process? You can abduct the girl, you can talk to her, you can buy her gifts, you can do all kind of crazy. There's different processes, right? Based on your moral values, most based on your judgment of what is right and wrong, you can convene any of these different strategies, right? From abducting to emotionally persisting or whatever. All these kind of methods, okay, right? Right? That's what it is. Like, you want a girl, based on what you think is right or wrong, there's so many methods to get that, right? So then what happens? You get the girl. So now what is your sense of identity? Your sambandha gyan has changed. Now you are a couple. Sambandha. Right? So now when you are a couple, your prayojan is, your destination is, you want a house. So you want to be a house owning couple. Right? So then what's the process? Again, rob a bank, purchase something, take a loan, kill somebody to like get some money for it.
Give a
This is
kidney.
crazy, huh?
If you have a kidney or arm and a leg.
Yeah, like something crazy. Depending on what you think is right or wrong, there's all kind of crazy means to do it, right? Because you have a sense of identity that I'm a couple, and my goal is to get a house. So as your sense of identity changes constantly in this world, you need different things. And there's different ways that you try to get it. But the problem is, this is a shaky sense of identity. Only when you understand Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityanasa, living entity's natural Swarupa or nature is Krishnera Nityadas. You're always the servant of the Supreme. You're always Krishna's servant. Servant is trying to be the master. This is called the rat race of material existence. But when the servant understands that I am a servant of the Supreme, then in that identity, the goal is different, the destination is different, the process, then you're willing to act on it. Remember, when you think you're a boy, you will do everything to get the girl. When you think you're the couple, you'll do everything to get the house. When you think you're the soul, when you fully get it, you'll do everything for that direction. In this world, we see that we get thirsty, right? And nature has already provided so much water. Okay? It's already provided for. In this world, you need to breathe, and there is oxygen provided for so much. So you see like this, you see whatever needs you have, that is actually existing. This tells you, because we all need the Supreme, we all at different points in life are like, oh God, no matter who we are, we're thinking, the Supreme is there. Because everything else that we need for is there, provided for. Now, if the Supreme, just for 5 minutes think about it, if the Supreme really exists, if, say I told you, the Supreme personality exists, right? And you're like, okay, then what's the most important thing in life? Make a connection with that guy. Right? Like if I told you, like, yeah, I don't know, whoever, Trump or Kamala Harris, whoever you support is sitting upstairs, what will you all do? Leave the class, go up, and try to make some connections so you can get some influence in your life, right? Because someone important is there. If I say the Supreme Personality of God is there, for 1 minute, if you consider that, oh, really? Then what's the most important thing? To know about this person, to make a connection with them. Why? Because if they're the Supreme, then you are part of them. You have an original source, right? By definition. So a person starts to act on it. So that's the vision of the soul. So we want to get to that vision. Instead of like just, those were the best days of my life. Anyone remember the lyrics of that song?
Someone
Yeah, but huh?
I didn't know this was a song.
You didn't know this is a song? Good Lord, it's a very old song, Brian Adams song, very old song. Anyone know? What is the word?
I've been listening to it, but I don't know the words. I've just been listening to it recently.
Interesting. It's very nostalgic. Like something about like being in school and if I could something like if I could make it last, I'd make it last forever. And so, something was
That's so deep.
literally that's the song. And he's like he says those were the best days of my life. And I remember being in university, a young kid, and it's just like everybody would be like singing it as an anthem. So like those were the best days of my life. So we want to sit in the past, but sometimes the past becomes a trap for us.
Mm-hmm.
Our reminiscence holds us back. We're not meant to be held back. We're travelers. The traveler cannot get attached to the airport.
Wow.
What do you think?
That's like a great analogy.
Right.
No se puede adaptar al aeropuerto.
Traveler cannot get attached to the airport. Traveler has to move to the next destination. Especially when you're in transit flights, like if you fly back to India or something, you have to move really quickly from the one terminal. You just really like go. You can't be like, oh, I'm here, it's so nice. And you can't. You have to move on. So we are travelers. This is our spacesuit. And we're so stupid. We're attached to the suit. We're attached to the airport. But the main question is, where's the plane going to? What's the destination? And do I have to keep taking flights, or is the end destination? Like if you've been on flights for like year after year after year, you'll be like, okay, when do I get to just land? Our problem is we forget the previous flight. Because of forgetfulness, because we forget our previous lives, we're just like, we really want to get nostalgic about your origin. Who am I? Where do I come from? That's the proper use of nostalgia. And I'll see how much time there is. 1 second. There's a little time. I'll tell you a story from the Bhagavatam. It's a bit intense, but I'll tell you regardless. Because when we see things from the eyes of knowledge, we see them very differently than sentiments. So there's this king in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and he fell in love with his queen. I'm not going to go into the detail of how. And at one point in time, his wife got very angry with him. And his father-in-law was a very powerful sage. And he cursed him that you will become old and crippled. But then, I'm giving a very rundown, like short version of it. So then his daughter was like, if he's old, then how am I going to enjoy life, right? So then eventually he's like, okay, but this curse is not helping my daughter. So although I want to punish him because he made my daughter upset, this is not really helping her. So he said, okay, if you can find one of your sons to exchange your old age with you, then you can have your youth back again so you can enjoy with your wife. So he goes and asks all his sons, and eventually one son agrees to exchange it. We're not going to go into the detail of it. In this way, he enjoys with his wife for thousands of years. Finally, he's like, okay, he starts to realize that this is going on endlessly. And he starts to see like this is not ending. This is just taking. So of course he's affectionate towards his wife, so he makes her sit down and he says to her, he said, I'll tell you a story of a he-goat and a she-goat. She says, okay, so she's fully in love with him, she's fully devoted, very nice wife, she's listening. And he explains there was once a he-goat. And this he-goat saw a she-goat. And then he kind of explains how the he-goat fell in love with the she-goat, and then how the he-goat enjoyed with the she-goat in so many ways. And he just kind of gives this whole thing. And eventually comes to the point that he's telling his own story, but in the sense of a goat. And he's just saying that, this is not going to come to an end. It's time for us to leave. So wife understands they have the whole realization. They get up and they realize it's time now for spiritual advancement. Because this is not real. We have to come to that realization that I'm meant for something else. Like a half-hearted approach to spiritual life doesn't get you too far. I'll do this and I'll do that. That's okay to get into the door, but after that, you get a little bit like, you have to invest in your spiritual life. I say this to people again and again and again. Spiritual life is not so damn cheap. Don't think you will just get it by some sentiment thrown here or there. You have to put in work. It requires work, it requires support, it requires help. Don't hesitate to ask help, like reading with one another, chanting with one another, these things. You need some sort of support almost every day. I know I've reached out to some of you guys before, like, you want to read or something, let me know about it. We need support. Material energy is very powerful. It's not like, you open the window and she comes in. She's all pervading energy. Very attractive, active, and addictive. Remember those words. So we need real nostalgia is like this. Like with wisdom, you see, I'm just enjoying like a goat. There's nothing different, You don't see like that about your life. You don't think yourself as a goat. But he's explaining, this is the real vision. You start to see that, I'm doing the same thing cats and dogs are doing. What's so different? How am I using my human life any differently from a dog? Is that what I want from my human life, just to become a dog? So you become a dog again. You become a rabbit. It's a whole different story. I won't go into it because you guys will get bored if I tell you too many stories. But there's this thing, Punarmushakabhava, you just become, if you're going to stay like this, you become a rat again, become a dog again. What is the point of human life if you're not going to use it? This life is not meant to be enjoyed like that, dogs and cats. It's meant for higher realization, higher consciousness, and you are all very rare souls. My nostalgia trip is every time you guys come, I like to hear about how to be meat and how to do, because it's just such rare souls. Like people like you are so rare in this world. Like look at how many people in the city of Atlanta. How many people in Atlanta?
I think it's like 4 million or something.
4 million, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 people in here, right? So
out of 4 million.
Yeah. So you can do them. It's so rare. You guys are so rare, such rare souls. Fan that spark. Don't let that spark die. The spark will surely die in the material atmosphere. But fan that spark in good association through constant reading. Finish the Bhagavad Gita. Start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Go through it. It's not. You can't take it like. I don't know if you've ever seen war movies or something. On the border when there's gunfire, you can't like take a nap at that time. You gotta fight. So we're in that environment. We're in the material energy. Every part of our body is designed for pain. It's like, but you want to enjoy this. This is pure madness. So you want to snap out of it. We don't want to get depressed, but we want to increase our spiritual acumen to see. Real nostalgia, remember, is trying to remember where we come from. What's our source? What's our origin? The Srimad Bhagavatam is a real book of nostalgia. It tells you about all the different appearances of Krishna. What happens? What are the different parts of this universe? What's there? Like, we should get excited about it. Like have a little Srimad Bhagavatam reading club. Just like we have a Bhagavatam reading group. We could have another day where you just read Srimad Bhagavatam together. Things will happen in time, but we could start dreaming about it. If you have to, if you must dream, why not dream about something eternal?